Hey guys, Ron here, and I'm so happy to bring you guys part 6 of Pokemon type swaps. This one's gonna be pretty tight. You guys know by now that instead of swapping Pokemon into random types that obliterate the entire design and concept of a Pokemon, I'm gonna design these type swap Pokemon as if they were also regional variants. I'm gonna make sure to give these type swapped regional variants backstories and make them actually work in the Pokemon world. Over the past few iterations, I created regional forms for my own fan-created region Asone based on the Middle East, but as we get closer to finishing the decks, I noticed we kinda had enough regional forms, so only a few of these will actually be part of the Asone region. I've released videos about the starters, legendaries, regional forms, and evolutions for those regional forms, so make sure to check those out. Feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed, so I know to make part 7, and check out the last few for regional variants like Ice Houndoom and Fire Azumarill. I'm going to start out by making a regional Ampharos, since this line is generally based on the title of Blade Runner's inspiration, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? What if we made a steel Ampharos that is an android-like electric sheep, and is covered in wool again? But not just any wool, steel wool. It'll be rough and abrasive, very good in battle. The idea of a steel wool Pokemon was desired for generations, so let's finally make it. I'll be tracing over these mons since most regional forms are in the exact same pose as their original forms, and for the most part have the same proportions. Starting out by drawing the parts I know won't change, like the body shape, I want this Pokemon to look a bit more mean. I'm giving it wool in the style of its Prevost and Mega Evolution. I want to give it long ram horns, but that would make it look too top heavy, and the original horns actually work well with a more android-like design. Adding barbs to the steel wool, and making the eyes more robotic. It's slanted just like a sheep's eye, giving it more tech-based patterns and Tesla coil-based tail, finally giving it hooves on its hands, and beginning the coloring process. Originally I wanted to stay yellow, but a bit darker. I gave it blue orbs to spice it up, and its wool kinda looks like a thundercloud. I like it, but I think the design would be more cohesive if it was a metallic gray. Here is the Electric Steel Ampharos. It's more abrasive and stoic than its Johto counterpart. Since ancient times, its wool was sheared and refined to make various metal products. Its wool is incredibly uncomfortable and irritates anyone who touches it. It electrifies its barbed wool to ward off anyone who wants to take from its precious wool. This is why it's impossible for it to be domesticated unless it's willing to let down its guard. Ancient forms of light bulbs have been found to be made with this Pokemon's self-electrifying wool. Its body becomes blindingly bright when lit up. Artisans use this Pokemon's wool to sand and polish their work too. They're rather intelligent and can analyze situations on and off the battlefield. They take their time to find optimal solutions and will often be unresponsive when deep in thought. It has the ability Static and Iron Barbs, with the hidden ability Analytic. It's slightly bulkier, therefore taller than normal Ampharos, but slower and heavier. I was considering giving it rough skin instead of iron barbs, but rough skin is literally Samehada or shark skin in Japanese. This turned out amazing, by the way. Finally a way to give it the wool it lacks, but with a new and clever concept. This should totally be a regional form in the future. Unfortunately, it's not an Asonian Ampharos, since I want normal Ampharos to be part of Asone, as some of the first Pokemon to ever be domesticated. Its shiny is super cool, by the way. I would try to have this on my team if they existed. Now I want to make a Tropius that lives in colder climates. It'll have a different kind of fruit on its chin, of course, and I want it to be based on pine trees, but I don't like the idea of a pine cone bearing Tropius, so how about picking a fruit whose tree is also a bit dense? How about a blueberry? It can grow in northern countries and it'll match this new Tropius's cold color scheme. The Japanese blueberry tree is a good inspiration, but of course we don't have literal blueberries in the Pokemon world. It should be based on a Pokemon berry. The problem is that the berry named after the blueberry in the Pokemon world kinda looks like an eggplant. But the berry that looks the most like a literal blueberry is the Yachi berry, and that is related to ice types, so let's make a Yachi berry Tropius. I'm beginning with a pretty similar head. Its neck is shorter but thicker, coniferous leaves, and way longer legs than a Hoennian Tropius, since it walks around instead of flying. Finally adding the Yachi berries, and basically replacing every leaf with the new ones, covering the vestigial leaves with snow and adding sharp patterns to indicate the brutality. Its hide is more bark-like now too. Finally decided to make its helmet look like a snow-capped mountain. Really ties it all together and solidifies the look. Its tropical colors are gone. Now it's evergreen, white and blue. Looks at home in the tundra. This is Grass Ice Tropius. This variation of Tropius lives in cold climates. Its thick wings are too heavy to take flight, but its longer and stronger legs allow it to search the land for fruit. Because of the scarcity of fruit in its environment, Tropius freezes and hides the fruit it gathers. In the harshest of winters, this Pokemon eats the berries that grow on its body. These berries are especially delicious when chilled. Their hide is incredibly tough, and their leaves are rather pointy. With the flap of its wings, it can launch pointy needles at its foes. Its helmet is reinforced, allowing it to break ice and rocks, this Pokemon has learned to be rather stingy with its fruit, and will only be generous with those it loves. Its leaves stay green all year long. It has this new ability called Needle Leaves, which is basically a new variation of Ruskin and Iron Barbs. It damages the foe when hit. Its other abilities are Leaf Guard and Harvest. It's a foot taller than the average Tropius, and I hope you guys are fine with me combining pine trees and blueberry trees. I simply didn't want to have the fruit Pokemon to have pine cones. It would be a bit boring. Its shiny is a bit Christmassy, also a nice excuse for it to have strawberries on its chin. Now I want to finally make a fairy-type Gengar that leans into the concept of it being Clefable's shadow. Gengar is based on a doppelganger, so now what's the opposite of an evil double? Perhaps a soulmate. I was thinking about how to make a Pokemon that represents the concept of a soulmate, and realized that a big Asian motif, specifically from China, is the red thread of fate that connects two soulmates. So how about I make a fairy Gengar that is wrapped in red thread and goes around playing Cupid. It'll have wings like a Clefable, and even look like a mummy. It all comes together. First, I'm giving him longer ears like a Clefable. Since Gengar resembles a Cheshire Cat and Black Cat, I'll retain the feline attributes and even elevate them. Giving it a cattail is a good way to combine it with the red string concept. It'll have a Clefairy swirl, cat-like mouth, and baby doll eyes, although they'll be more far apart in the final design, so it's a bit more adorable. Adding the thread wrapped around its body. I mean, to be fair, its body is made out of the thread. Some patterns to highlight the cat and mummy aesthetic, and sharp wings. It'll be pink instead of blood red, but it's still close to red in the traditional sense. Here is Ghost Fairy Gengar. During the full moon, this Pokemon follows new couples and discreetly ties them up with its string-like body. This brings those in love both physically and emotionally closer. This Gengar is able to unravel its body and slip through microscopic cracks. It'll wrap its entire body around those it loves. It becomes incredibly attached to its friends and family, even taking hits for them. It fills the air with warmth. If you're heating up around your crush, chances are this Pokemon is near, trying to bring you closer to your true love. This Pokemon is somewhat mischievous though. It will sometimes bond those who are not compatible, causing much drama. It is the ultimate matchmaker though. Some couples will actually seek out Gengar to make their relationships last forever. Those successfully bonded by Gengar's thread will even be together in the afterlife. It has the ability Friend Guard. It's slightly taller than Gengar because its ears are longer. I'm very proud of this concept though. I was able to make a fairy Gengar that wasn't just a literal Clefable, but a new concept that makes total sense as the opposite of Gengar. I also ended up taking some inspiration from Edgeshot from My Hero Academia and Vanessa's cat from Black Clover. It's supposed to be between cute and creepy since it's still a Gengar. So in the previous type swap video, I made a Pidove based on a white dove, one that is grass type to play off of the olive branch motif. It goes around bringing peace. So let's finally make the entire family. This grass type Unfezant will look like a peacock, and it will have giant leaf plumage. But first let's make the transition Pokemon between the dove and the peacock. I'll begin by making a white and green Tranquill. This is basically a Tranquill, but I'm replacing all the black feather tufts with leaves, changing the patterns to leaf patterns, giving it 3 tails to transition to the full-on peacock tail feathers of the evolved form, leaves under the wings, and finally white, green, and turquoise. Take a look at the grass-flying Asonian Tranquill. This Pokemon strives for peace and flies long distances to bring peace. It's incredibly full of itself, and believes that one sight of its beautiful plumage will end all wars. It eagerly accepts delivery jobs in order to show more people its colorful feathers. Its feathers do bring good luck though, and are used as good luck charms throughout Asone. In battle, it shoots out multicolored leaves from its wings. In ancient times, these leaves would be crushed to make certain dyes. I love how the colors turned out. The turquoise is very pretty. Its shiny is clearly not a variant, but let's get on to its evolved form. The mask won't have those swingable head feathers. It'll have a peacock crest made of leaves and a more regal chest. Leaf-like patterns and an extra talon to align with the talons of a peafowl. The tail feather leaves will have the eye design of a peacock feather, but will also act like the Nazar, an eye-shaped Middle Eastern charm that protects against the evil eye, or any kind of bad luck. This ties into the entire line, bringing peace and good luck to Asone. The arrow-like patterns allude to how this Pokemon can fire its leaf feathers in all directions, and it's constantly vigilant. Its coloration is more akin to that of a green peafowl, whose females actually aren't too different looking from the males. It took an hour to find the correct color scheme and configuration though. In the end, I settled for this spectrum of yellow, green, green, and turquoise. Very pleasing based on my taste. Here is Asonian Unfezant. It's incredibly proud of its plumage. The color of its feathers seems to change based on the angle, even making the eye patterns on its tail feathers blink, stupefying onlookers and terrifying foes. Males with bigger and more colorful plumage show off their tail feathers to attract mates and intimidate rivals by showcasing their ability to survive in the wild while sticking out. This colorful Pokemon seems to strike a chord with trainers who also seem to stick out in a hostile environment while staying proud. Since Unfezant's colors are recognizable from afar, they're always on guard. They can shoot out sharp leaves in all directions. Their only blind spot is below when they're not flying. Their leaf feathers are able to absorb the sun's rays, giving them reliable energy. They only act vulnerable when around those they trust. Since ancient times, their eye pattern feathers have been used as luck charms that ward off evil. They have the abilities Big Pecs, Super Luck, and the hidden ability Chlorophyll. Its height is from head to toe and doesn't include its tail feathers since they aren't always erect. Unfortunately, I want to prioritize making Pokemon that are necessary for the plot of my Asone Region story. Since the 8th gym leader has this Pokemon, I prioritize making the male version instead of the female. It's interesting to note that peacocks were seen as the guardians of royalty in Persia and Babylonia. The 8th gym leader is based on a Babylonian prince and is royalty himself, so having an Asonian Unfezant is very appropriate. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe if you haven't. Make sure to check out the previous art videos and my Asone Region playlist. Consider becoming a patron or clicking the join button to get cool rewards like seeing videos days early and a huge discount on the t-shirts I made for you guys. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram where I'll post the full art of these Pokemon. Bye!